Here's a bit of a Prager University video on South Africa.
White South African farmers are being
Yes.
hunted from their land by black gangs. Fact. And I had a young son at the time, and he would sometimes have nightmares about when the monsters would come, at nighttime. But in South Africa, that is when the gangs come, and they work together and they attack white farmers. And some of the things that happen to white farmers, we don't need to talk about here, but the barbarity, it isn't just about burglary, which it gets filed away as. This is torture. And the numbers of white farmers being killed is incredible. And because South Africans have expropriation without compensation, which basically means we're taking your land. So I went and slept on the farms to feel the fear. White people are denied treatment in hospitals in South Africa. It's an extreme situation that no one will talk about.
It's a really bad situation. The reason why I want to play that for you is because I believe there is genocide going on, but not to the numbers, perhaps, of what people think of genocide. CNN was like, there's only, 1,800 or 2,000 white farmers that have been killed in the last few years. I'm like, oh, well, that's it. Okay, so at least we know when genocide, what genocide is not, apparently under a couple thousand. Genocide is a frame of mind. You genocidal maniac. It is a frame of mind that I'm going to kill all of these people for whatever reason. This group of people, I think they should all die. And if you take steps to do that, that's genocide. You are trying to enact or help others enact genocide. Okay? We'll get back to South Africa and what I believe is the genocide, just not the way you frame it, 6 million Jews. It's not that. But it's anti-racism. That's what it is. You can't just not be a racist. You have to be an anti-racist. You have to hate the oppressor. You have to do whatever you have to do because the oppressor is the evil one and has to be stopped. This is what's happening over in South Africa. And it is a Marxist, racist ideology. And it is destroying South Africa. You look at the 2,000 white farmers, and I don't know if that number is entirely accurate, but around 2,000 white farmers that have been killed. That's a lot. But they had 27,000 murders in that country. Now, they're a country of 60,000, 65,000. We're a nation of 350 million, and we had 19,000 murders. Okay, so think of the fear that's a country completely out of control. And some of those were passions and crimes of passion. They were crimes of burglary, perhaps. They were crimes just senseless killing, and some of them were genocide. Okay, you don't dismiss genocide, and you don't dismiss a system that is producing 27,000 murders on average every single year. For Father's Day, let your dad know he matters. Get him a gift from American Giant. They make clothing here at home with American cotton, American hands, and American heart. It's quality you can feel. Go to american-giant.com/Glenn and get 20% off your first purchase. That's american-giant.com/Glenn. This is what happens when a government starts to adopt all of the things that the left wants us to adopt. The anti-racist point of view. The let's not punish criminals. Socialist Marxist ideals. Look at South Africa. That's what they want here. Now, they might say they don't, but you can say, I'm gonna put a bunch of bacon into my oven because puppy dogs are gonna pop out. But you would believe whatever you want. You can say whatever you want, but that's not what's going to happen. And I want you to look at the pattern here in America. Okay, what are these? The left now is defending murderers, gang members. Why? Because America is oppressive. They would rather have those guys returned safely so they can, I don't know, go through trial or live here happily or what, I don't know. They would rather have sanctuary cities that protect those people than you. That's not a winning strategy for the next campaign. It's just not. Going in and beating on police. I mean, just watch the video. You could say whatever you want about MacGyver, but if you watch the video, you see exactly what's going on. Okay. She was assaulting police officers, and then she was trying to play victim. Because remember, that's what you do on the left. You make the other person the oppressor, and you're the oppressed, so you get all the sympathy. And it's insane, and it's happening over and over and over again. You had the two Jews last night gunned down in the streets of Washington. Who were they? Pro-Hamas, Marxist, communist. Okay. You have something else going on. You also have the investigation into who is covering up for Joe Biden, the auto pin. Today, the news is we have listen to this, a high level Democratic operative that was involved in the campaign and involved with the White House that has come out now as a confidential whistleblower to identify the three people that were not only guarding all of the secrets and keeping people away from the president, which was bad enough. But this whistleblower now says they were making money on the signature machine, the auto pen. Excuse me? We now have a whistleblower saying that. This is going to be turned over to the DOJ very soon. You're going to see these three people tried and hopefully go to jail if that evidence is true. Today, you also have a story about the government knew, we now have a new report that is out after an investigation, that the government knew about the vaccine side effects and the injuries that could happen, and they actively covered it up. You're going to see people marched in I think within the next 2 weeks, you're going to see people marched in handcuffs because of that. The cover up on the COVID. You're going to see people marching in handcuffs because of what happened in the White House and that cover up with the auto pen. You already saw MacGyver marching in handcuffs. So there's two forces. This is what I want to tell you. There are two forces. One, the United States government, which is now with the Justice Department and the FBI, seem to be moving in exactly the right direction. You have ICE moving in the right direction, and they are starting to enforce the law. So what's that going to do to the other side? The other side, these are Marxist, communists, anti-racist, radical revolutionaries. Make no mistake, this is not your Democrat that you've known for years that lives next door. These are radical, revolutionary Marxists, communists, pro-Sharia law people. They do not want to live side by side by their neighbor. They do not want American justice to be restored. They're looking for an entirely different kind of justice, the kind of justice that you're now finding in South Africa. And I'm sorry, but I'm not on my watch. Not on my watch. I don't think you're going to stand for it either. But they're going to cause violence. What we have to do is, in every way possible, support the institutions that are moving in the right direction. Nobody's perfect. Nothing is perfect. And I don't trust any of the institutions right now. And I think George Washington would applaud me for that. But that doesn't mean I want them all to go into a fiery furnace. We have to have institutions that we can trust, or we have no civilization. Jonah Goldberg, you're pathetic. You're absolutely pathetic. He wrote something yesterday about how, me and Alex Jones are just, all, populist, and we're going to make sure that nobody believes in any institution. That is exactly the opposite of what I'm saying. But we're under attack. Voices like mine saying this, I'm under attack because people must have division. I'm saying do everything you can to stop dividing. Do everything you can. You got to call a spade a spade. You got to say that is evil, that is good. That is black, that is white. You're a man, that's a woman. You have to do that. But they're going to start to get more and more violent in the next year or 2 years. Maybe it happens faster. And they're going to use everything they can. And they're going to they'll get into bed with anything they can. Do you know that the push for, people standing up and, protesting for these illegals that are do you know that China's funding a lot of that? We just found that out today. You think they have a pro-American, pro-freedom agenda? Nope, but these organizations won't care. They'll take that money. They don't care. So we have to know who we are, what we believe. We have to know our Constitution. We have to teach it to our family. We have to stay calm, be leaders, and you're only leaders if you're well-informed. Again, anybody who gets their news off of social media, the person who reads nothing has a better education than the people who only read social media. Do not get your news from social media. You can get a tip. You can say, oh, wow, but then go in and investigate it. Don't go with the headlines. Don't believe social media. And as we saw yesterday, all the people who are saying that this is a conspiracy theory about the whites and the farmers in South Africa, they're all the same people that told you there was nothing wrong with Joe Biden. So you have to decide what side you're on. And I know what side you're on. And, somebody came to me the other day. And they talked to me about you. And they said, your audience, and they know because they deal with audiences all over the country. And they said, your audience is different than any other audience in America. And I said, I know, but how do you see it? And they described it exactly like I do. You're the most honest, decent, kind, loving, true American that is not out for vengeance, but out for the American values. You're the most polite. You still say please, thank you. You still hold doors open for people. You clean up after yourselves. You'll have a big event in a park or something, and you'll clean up after yourself. There is no group of people, I think, that has been assembled for a broadcast that is like this. And I am honored to serve you every day. Truly honored to serve you every day. Things are going to get much, much better. But it's going to be a hard slog because I don't think the left is done. Because they're not doing anything here that would lead to re-election. They're not uniting with the average American with these kinds of things. So what are they planning? I think what all Marxist, anti-racist, communist, and revolutionaries plan for every time. Street action.